in love. Oh, I'm in love.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's MassiveJoes Raw Review, and I'm coming to you from MassiveJoes.com. Awesome Raw Review for the viewers at home today on an all-new Australian hydrolyzed whey protein isolate from our good friends at Primabolics. It is, of course, ISO ripped in the house. Let's get straight into it. Going to take a deep dive, show you guys exactly what's in it, tell you exactly what it's going to do. Big ass nutritional information panel appearing on screen so you guys can play along. Let's start at the top because we have serving size 30 grams, 1 scoop. We have 25 of those 1 scoop 30 gram serves in each and every tub of this ISO ripped. Because it is a protein, of course, we got to discuss these macros. We're talking about 111 calories per serve. And you guys will know the panel's split between per serve and per 100 grams. It's an Australian regulatory thing. 111 calories per serve. We've got 26.1 grams of protein. We've got 0.4 grams of fat and 0 grams of saturated fat, 0.3 grams of carbohydrates, 0.1 grams of sugar. In terms of the percentages, because that's what we're really interested in, you can actually read across to the per 100 grams and that'll spit out the percentages straight away. So you guys can see in terms of protein, 87%. Woo! Very high protein, pure WPI we're dealing with here. You can tell just by the macros. 87% protein, 1.5% fat, and 1% carbohydrates. This is a very, very, very pure hydrolyzed WPI. In terms of where these macros are coming from, and in terms of what this protein is actually made up of, no surprises. If we read down the bottom of the panel, we can see it's 100% hydrolyzed whey protein isolate, which is why we're able to get such a high percentage of protein with such a small percentage, such a small amount of fats and carbohydrates, because it is that pre-digested hydrolyzed whey protein isolate. We then have a whole bunch of unique things going on in here. So we've got some acetyl L-carnitine in there. We don't know how much, it's not disclosed on the panel, but we do know it is the second ingredient, which means it's apart from the hydrolyzed WPI, it's the second most of any other ingredient in there. That's obviously in there to help fat metabolism, a little bit of mental focus as well. We need to know the amount to really comment any more than that. We then have some soy lecithin in there. That's just a little texturized. We've got some digestive enzymes in there to help with the breakdown of the 87% protein. We also don't know what the digestive enzymes are and how many of them there are, but we do know that they are in there. Then we have this vitamin and mineral blend. If you read back up the panel, you guys can see it is fully disclosed, right from vitamin A up the top, right down to selenium down the bottom. I'm not going to go into detail other than to say that it is kind of sprinkled in here. A lot of these vitamins and minerals are not in the sorts of doses that you need them to be in if you were, say, taking a vitamin and mineral supplement in its own right. But they are in here nonetheless. We then have some natural sweetener in there in the form of stevia. So all flavors across the ISO ripped are naturally sweetened with stevia. There's no artificial sweeteners, no sucralose, no ACE-K, which once again makes it quite unique in the isolate space. And then we have some natural and artificial flavors. Depending on the flavor, those are going to change. Some are completely naturally flavored. Others have a blend of natural and artificial. Some are completely artificial flavored. So we've got a bit of a mix there in terms of the flavors. And that's what's in it, guys. Infamous MassiveJoes taste and mixability test about to go down. But before I get there, I've got to tell you guys about the flavors that the ISO Rip comes in. 10 flavors. 10 flavors. At the time of shooting this raw review, we are carrying 4 of the 10, but we do intend to expand our flavor selection as Primabolics continue to bring other flavors back in stock. Let me go through all 10. I'll tell you which ones we're currently carrying. So the 10 flavors are caramel white chocolate, which is the Caramilk Cadbury caramel inspired flavor, of course. We've got choc fudge brownie. We've got choc mint. We've got choc hazelnut, which is Nutella inspired. We have choc peanut butter. We have caramel banana flavor. We have banana cream pie flavor. We have salted caramel flavor. We have strawberry white chocolate. And we have finally the flavor I have here that we're about to do a taste and mixability test on, the vanilla cake batter. The 4 flavors that we are currently carrying at the time of shooting this raw review is, of course, the vanilla cake batter, the choc peanut butter, the choc fudge brownie, and probably my favorite flavor, maybe my favorite flavor in isolates of all time, the caramel inspired Cadbury white chocolate. Shaker's all set up. We're going to follow these directions, split the middle. So 1 serve of ISO ripped in 250 to 300 mils of water. I have 300 mils of water here ready to go. It says take 1 scoop. I will let you guys know I did weigh a scoop just before jumping in here to shoot this video. And 1 level scoop that looks like this, completely level, does weigh exactly 30 grams. So bravo Primabolics for getting the scoop weight right on the ISO rip. So I'm gonna take this 30-gram scoop and I'm gonna throw it in my MJ shaker with 300 mils of cold water. Let's pop that back on there. Let's take a few flicks of the wrist. I'm gonna show you guys how it mixes and refresh my memory on how this vanilla cake batter flavor tastes. All right. First thing I want you guys to notice, it froths up a lot. You guys can see that's almost gone, we've almost gone double the froth in there. So the water level was at about the 300 mils there, and then we've gone all the way up in terms of just froth. That can often be a sign of a very pure whey protein isolate, and that's what I'm gonna put it down to with the ISO ripped. But it does froth up. If you let it sit there, the froth will separate out. We don't have time to do that, so I'm just gonna show you guys when I pour it in my double wall glass, what we're looking at here. You can kind of see that froth subsides. That being said, because of the amount of froth that it does generate, I'm gonna go so far as to say turbo ball is required for this Primabolics ISO ripped. Let me refresh my memory on how this vanilla cake batter tastes. The interesting thing with these flavors of ISO ripped, and Primabolics do another protein, a blended protein called Whey ripped, is the flavors are really quite pleasant in the fact that they're not super sweet like a lot of American-based protein flavors are, like really kind of punch you in the face, super sweet. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Primabolics use stevia, so it's naturally sweetened. So it's not punch you in the face sweet, but there is like a really pleasant amount of flavor happening in the ISO ripped. And this vanilla cake batter, it's like a really kind of like sweet vanilla. It really is cake. It's cake. It's vanilla cake, effectively, that's what it is. So Primabolics have done a really good job with this vanilla, as too have they done with all of the 4 flavors that we're currently carrying. I personally have tried all of them. If I had to rank them for you guys, caramel white chocolate for me, number 1. That's the caramel inspired flavor. I'd probably then go the vanilla cake batter, and then the choc fudge brownie and the choc peanut butter are really neck and neck for me. But the flavors across all of the flavors that I have tried with the ISO ripped are really like world class. Like Primabolics have done a really great job with just getting the amount of sweetness, the amount of flavor, the pleasant kind of experience when you're drinking the ISO rip. They've really nailed that down. The other thing that I will mention, because it is a protein, is the texture and the mouthfeel. So a lot of the times with isolate proteins, as you guys may or may not know, is the texture can be really, when you mix it with water in particular, really watery. It's really kind of thin, and it kind of just tastes like like milky flavored water. It's not a really nice experience. Primabolics, I don't know how they've done it, but they've been able to get almost like a blended whey type texture with a 100% pure hydrolyzed whey protein isolate with the 87% protein and the super, super low amount of fats and carbohydrates. So the texture is exceptional for a whey protein isolate. And really, when I put these macros up against the other WPIs in this space with similar macros, the texture of ISO Ripped is the best for sure. So I just want to point that out for you guys because it's a pleasant experience to drink each and every mouthful of the ISO Ripped. In terms of the versatility, you can sludge with it. So you can add, 1 scoop to 30 mils of water in a bowl with a spoon. You guys have seen me do this before and make a sludge. And it does make that reasonably well, not as well as a blended whey or a whey casein blend. Obviously, the thickness just isn't there, but you can do it. It doesn't cook very well, although it is a very good protein to use in creamy rice, to make high protein creamy rice, to add to oats if you're trying to make high protein oats. So it is a good protein to add to carbohydrate and fat-based sources. It just doesn't cook very well. Like if you were to take the sludge and try and cook it and make some sort of brownie or whatever, it doesn't cook very well in its own right, but it does add to other ingredients quite well. I think primarily, it's a drinking protein. And it is a really pleasant drinking protein experience. So primarily, that's really where the ISO Ripped is designed to be used. In terms of the effects, nothing outstanding here, guys. It's a protein powder, of course. It's going to increase your daily protein intake. Being a whey-based protein, it's pure. It's complete, it's biologically available, so it is a very, very good source of protein. Of course, we do have the added acetyl-L-carnitine, the digestive enzymes, the vitamin and mineral blend, but primarily, you're not buying this for all of those additions. Those are nice additions to have, but you're buying this because it is a high protein, low calorie, low carb, low fat protein powder that tastes amazing and you can incorporate in your diet to boost your daily protein intake up. Of course, it's going to help with muscle recovery. It's going to help with muscle growth. If you're in a hypertrophy training phase, of course, those two things need to work together, but that's really the main effect you're going to get is increasing your daily protein intake. In terms of the side effects, the one thing that I do have to note, and even though we're not sure how many or how much of the digestive enzymes are in every scoop of the ISO Ripped, is they are in there. And if you're the sort of person that you don't really like digestive enzymes because it's a bit hit and miss as to whether they help your body digest or they kind of mess up your gut microbiome, probably steer clear of the ISO Ripped because the digestive enzymes are in this protein. What does it compare to? I've done something a little different here, guys. I'm going to take, on one hand, another Australian sourced WPI and compare it to the ISO Ripped. And on the other hand, I'm going to take arguably the most popular whey protein isolate on the planet, the Rule 1 R1 isolate. So for the Australian, let's start there. Cyborg, grass-fed WPI. Let's stack them up against each other. In terms of the pricing, the small tubs of the Cyborg WPI are exactly the same price as the small tubs of the ISO Ripped. That being said, you get more serves in a small tub of grass-fed WPI, so it is a better value for money per serve. And of course, in the bigger tubs of the grass-fed WPI, it's better value for money per serve in those as well. The macros across both products are very similar. The grass-fed WPI has a little less protein, more fat, but less carbs. But we're dealing with like grams here. We're dealing with percentage points. Very, very similar macros. The versatility of the grass-fed WPI is not quite as good as the ISO Ripped. I think ISO Ripped is just, it sludges better, it's better in oats, it's better in creamy rice than the grass-fed WPI, just by a slither. The texture in the grass-fed WPI is slightly thinner as well, which kind of ties into the versatility. The thickness and the mouthfeel and the texture of the ISO Ripped is a little better than the grass-fed. Not as many flavors either. Grass-fed WPI, 7 flavors compared to the ISO Ripped in 10 flavors. The grass-fed WPI is artificially sweetened, so it's sweetened with a blend of sucralose and acesulfame potassium ACE K, whereas the ISO-Ripped is completely naturally sweetened with stevia. And the grass-fed WPI doesn't have any of the added bits and pieces, the digestive enzymes, the vitamin and mineral blend, the acetyl-L-carnitine, nothing. It's just whey protein isolate. Let's flip the script and let's go to the Rule 1 R1 isolate. R1 isolate is more expensive in their smaller tubs, although the smaller tubs are 30 serves compared to the 25 serves in the ISO-Ripped, and that slight increase in actual price is actually better value for money per serve. So once again, better value than the ISO-Ripped per serve. Macros, once again, are very similar. Rule 1 ISO has a little less protein, a little more carbs, but we're dealing with percentage points once again. Versatility across both is very similar. They both sludge pretty much the same. They can be used in oats and creamy rice, pretty much the same. The texture in the Rule 1 isolate is slightly thinner, once again, than the texture in the mouthful in the ISO-Ripped. ISO-Ripped is a slightly nicer protein to drink. Same number of flavors, 10 and 10 across both products. R1 isolate, once again, artificially sweetened, primarily with sucralose, and I think some of the flavors use ACE K as well, whereas the ISO-Ripped is just stevia. And once again, the R1 isolate doesn't have any of the added benefits, no added digestive enzymes, no vitamin and mineral blend, no acetyl-L-carnitine, none of that, just pure whey protein isolate. Who is it best for? No surprises here, guys. If you're in the market for a very high protein, pure, complete, biologically available protein source, high protein, low carbs, low fats, amazing flavors, primarily to drink, ISO-Ripped is definitely worth a closer look. And just to round out, guys, price and value for money. In the small tubs, in the ISO-Ripped, we're looking at $84.95 for the 25 serve. So it breaks out at $3.40 per scoop. I've already compared it to a couple of different ones on the market, and you know that per scoop or per serve, it's slightly more expensive. The question is it fair value for money? I think considering the fact that you are getting the added benefits, you're getting the acetyl-L-carnitine, you're getting the sprinkling of vitamins and minerals, you're getting the digestive enzymes, and the fact that the flavors are amazing, and the fact that it's probably the most versatile WPI on the market, and the fact that the macros are arguably, just by a slither, the best on the market. And finally, the fact that as a drinking whey protein isolate, it's probably the most pleasant experience you're gonna have with any whey protein isolate on the market. I think that at $3.40 per scoop, $84.95 for the 25 serves, it represents fair value for money. Guys, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the MJ Fitness YouTube channel, guys. Don't forget to turn your post notifications on your mobile, your cell phone, your desktop PC, your smart TV, and whatever other device you are watching this video on, so you don't miss a beat when it comes to all these new raw reviews and everything else we've got happening here on the channel. Guys, that is MassiveJoes raw review on the all-new Australian whey protein isolate Primabolics ISO-Ripped. Until next time, I'm coming to you from MassiveJoes.com.